Okay. Hey, everybody. Lee Whittier. And we're just on the phone with William Branum, and we're getting him hooked up. So hold on just a minute, and I'll be right with you. Hey, everybody. Thanks for waiting. We're going to get William in as soon as. Okay. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Michael. Yes, I know I was muted. And that's because our guest is having a little bit of trouble getting on. So we're going to start by saying hi and hey, Christine, nice to see you. Yeah, turquoise, it's such a great summer color. Hey, Pam, how are you? I can't wait to see and hear from our guest. He is really amazing. Maggie, hi, glad to see you. And Cindy, always good to see you. Let's see who else is here. White Hawk Alaskan Mallards. I know the audio was on and off because I was trying to get Michael on here. And Marie, thank you for coming. You are welcome. Anyone else not hearing? Teresa, can you not hear me still? You should be able to hear me. Hi from Ohio, Linda Krebs. Nice to see you. Carolyn, Alaskan Malamutes. Good to see you too. All right. So I'm just going to put this out there before William gets here. Oh, good, Teresa. Glad to hear it. Thank you for letting me know. Last night in Mastery, we talked about Hayes Blake Hoyt. And although this has nothing to do with William, it sort of has everything to do with William because we talked about type and what type means per our breed standards, right? Type, what elements are the 3 to 5 hallmarks of a breed? What are the key breed points and what do judges look for? And then we talked about the essence of the breed and how do we describe the essence of a breed. And so now we have Heather from Alberta, Belgian Shepherds. Tell me a little bit about how you, Teresa, I think you have Dobermans. Tell me how you would describe the essence of your breed. Hey, I hear that William is coming soon, so it's just going to be a short time. I can't see him yet, but I'll bet I'll be able to see him soon. Whippets and German Shepherds. So who can describe the essence of your breed? In other words, it's not the pieces and parts. Oh, here he is. Hey, William. No, we can't hear you yet. Maybe Alex can help. Unmute. The unmute is underneath your picture screen. Nope, not yet. Keep trying. 3 to 5 top things I look for, Heather. Yeah, we're gonna William, there's a message for you in the chat. Yep, got it. Okay, good. Yeah, what are the 3 to things that you look for? We can start there. Strength and freighting for Alaskan Malamutes. Yep.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
All right, we got you.
This was, yeah, I was, I'm technically not that smart on, technology. Alex was also
but you know
helping me
what?
out.
You're now, and we were just talking about dogs. You know, dog people love to talk about dogs, but we're here now, and we're gonna shift gears, and we're talk about William. And why did I ask William to come here today? So, you are a Navy SEAL with 26 years of experience. That is that usual that someone can be a SEAL for that long?
Yeah, you know, as you get more senior, you can actually go for 30 plus years, but I maybe wasn't as politically correct as I should have been or could have been. I don't know. So yeah, so I was only able to stay for 26 years.
All right. So, and you had several different jobs, right? You were a SEAL, you were an active SEAL, you were an underwater SEAL, you were a sniper instructor. And how was it that you kept changing jobs within that greater SEAL part?
Well, they want you to be a very well-rounded operator at the end of the day. So I started, my first team was much more of an underwater team. We worked in 4 to 8 man, unit, like groups. And we had a little mini submarine, and we would take that submarine into, and you can only put 4 guys in the back. So the most you could do 2 submarines going into someplace, somewhere in the world, and, park the submarine on the bottom. You get out, you go across the beach, you do some stuff, and then you come back and try to find those black submarines underwater somewhere, maybe 3 days later, and then go back to where you started. So the most in the beginning was I worked with 8 guys maximum. And then fast forward, then I taught snipers for a while, and then I went to SEAL Team 10, and my first deployment overseas, my first deployment where I was running the show, more or less, my first mission, I had 74 people on the battlefield, and I was like, this is a lot of people. I'm not sure, what have I signed up for? Hopefully nothing bad happens right now.
Yeah.
So but they want you to be very well-rounded and just a really good leader and operator and things like that.
So when you were faced with this big undertaking, like for us, for dog show people, we have 2 dogs, and we have to get 2 of them in the ring, and we have to negotiate that and strategize that. But how did you strategize 74 people, and what happened inside of you that made you go from, oh my God, what have I signed up for, to a successful mission?
You know what? It was the planning and the rehearsals that went into it. So fortunately, in the SEAL teams, you're starting off with guys that are already, before we deploy, the minimum amount of time. So it's about 2 years from the day you start SEAL training till you become a Navy SEAL. And then it's another 18 months before you actually get to deploy, for the most part. So you have a lot of training under your belt. You've got, you've worked together as a unit. So in that first sort of combat deployment where I was in charge, this was my second combat deployment, but the first one I was in charge of, I had guys from 7 different SEAL teams. I had my group of 22, but I also had, other groups of people. I had, Iraqi, like kind of the Iraqi CIA doing an operation in conjunction with us, and we had 7 different targets we needed to hit, and so we had a lot of lessons learned. So everything didn't go great, but we accomplished the mission. We got a lot of lessons learned. We figured out like what we needed to focus on for the next mission and what we didn't need to focus on. Because when we were doing the rehearsals, we practiced some of the wrong things, the things that didn't really matter. The things that mattered, we found out, were things like going from the target back to the vehicle, or going from the vehicle into the target, or these little like transition points. It wasn't like the actions on the objective weren't as important as like the transition from one place to another.
That is something that we can apply to what we do, which is the planning, but also that dog shows are the only sport where people basically have no training and no experience, and take their dog in the ring and run around in left circles and expect to be successful. And so what I hear you saying is this big thing that has the power to change the world is something that you plan for, and that sometimes you have to pivot and start planning for something else, like these transition points that you run into. And
just rehearsing. I mean, how many people do a dog show and they never like do like a, they want to do like the big shows, but they are not willing to put in the work at the little shows and learn these little lessons, these lessons learned. So, we, like I talked about, we have 18 months of like working up, like we work as a team. And when we do that, we start at the most absolute base. I could come back from a 6-month deployment where I was doing all sorts of room entries and climbing buildings, and, we hit 150, 200 targets, in that 6 months. And, I come back and I start a new workup with, probably half the team is new. We start back at the very, very most basic, 2 guys walking into a room with no targets. And then we add targets, and then we're shooting paint. We're not shooting real bullets. And then we add 4 guys, and we add more complexity. So we always, no matter what we do, we always start back at the absolute basics. And then from the basics, we build on those basics to become more complex. So it doesn't matter if you're a Navy SEAL or you're doing, dog shows or anything else in life. If you don't master the basics of what you need to do, and those transition things, there's so many basic things that go on in there. And those are the times where you have the biggest probability of failure. So you have to be really good at the transitions. You have to be really good at the basics.
So, William, it sounds like this could be an extremely stressful job. How did you deal with your stress? I know it, comparatively speaking, going to a dog show and being a Navy SEAL are not on the same stress level. But for some people, one of the biggest questions, let me start here. One of the biggest questions I get from dog show owner handlers is how to reduce the stress in the ring. And so I'd ask you, what did you do to reduce your own stress when you were going through the missions and preparing for them?
I think it's probably repetition. Like the more you do it, the more comfortable you are doing it. And, I like speaking on stage, but I am not that comfortable speaking on stage because I haven't done it enough. Like I've spoken, I've had hundreds of people in front of me, like in the military, and I get up there and I know what I'm going to say and what we're going to talk about and things like that. But when I have transitioned and now I get on stage in front of, like 50, 100 people, I'm like, oh my God, I would much rather be in a gunfight right now because I'm more comfortable doing that because I've done that so much more than I have, speaking. So it's the more you do something, the easier to, like, it doesn't matter. Maybe you're like in mixed martial arts and you want to, do or just martial arts in general. My son, he did a bunch of tournaments when he was very, very young. He wasn't so good at the sparring, but he was really good at doing the forms and being judged on how well he did the forms. So and he didn't like doing the sparring because he wasn't good at it, but he also did practice. And then when he started practicing, he was like, I kind of like doing that. So you just have to continue to practice whatever that skill is that you're going to do it. And the more you do it, the better you get.
I see that Nikki Higgins says, fantastic info. Thank you, Nikki. And Michael says, training and repetition. Yes. And Carolyn says, if I'm confident, so is the dog, it goes right down the lead, which is so true. Everything that we do as a leader, so when we're in dog shows, we're leaders for our dogs. And what we do, just like I'm sure if you were confident, your men and women who are working with you were confident as well. If they thought, okay, well, William knows what he's talking about and doing, so I feel good about it. And
yeah, 100%. And that energy just permeates throughout the organization, throughout the group, to your dog. You know, if you're like, I'm scared to go out there, maybe what you should do is before the show is go out there and run a bunch of laps. Like if you've done it enough times, you kind of have an idea what you need to do. Practice like switching off from one dog to the other. And like, that's what I mean, kind of those transition points. Maybe you're like, you have a German Shepherd and you go and run the German Shepherd and you come back and get the Collie because you're better at, running the ring. But you have a handler, you have like your plan in place so that you can just execute that plan, but practice the plan, like practice executing it as much as you can. And then when it comes to showtime, no one, like you know exactly what to do. And if things don't go exactly right, it's okay because you practice it and you can just sort of like adjust as necessary. Because you've thought about
sort of
like
almost
what
like a
could go
muscle
wrong,
memory,
what could
right?
go wrong. Yeah, exactly.
I see Nikki says the small transitions. Love that. Yeah, I do too. So I see your t-shirt says get naked.
It does.
Would you mind telling us why you're wearing a t-shirt that says get naked?
So I have a CBD company. It's called Naked Warrior Recovery. So the Naked Warrior, if you've ever heard if you've ever seen the movie Saving Private Ryan, that assault on Normandy, prior to that, the Navy went out and found these guys that were good at demolitions and they could swim, and they went in and they did all the planning. They did the survey. They swam in under enemy fire and did surveys of the beach. Then they came in and they put demolition charges on all the obstacles on the land and in the water. And this will be a little bit of a longer story, but I'll try to make it quick. And then as that Saving Private Ryan, like assault on Normandy was happening with the Allied forces, these guys went in just before that, like a couple hours, put demolitions on all the obstacles and blew them, and then kind of got out of the way for the assault to happen. Fast forward to the island campaign of the Pacific. Marines are like going ashore. They would hit these barrier reefs, run off the end of the edge of the reef and thinking they're in 3 feet of water and drown in 30 feet of water. So the Navy said, okay, bring these guys back over to the Pacific, did hydrographic reconnaissance, blew the reefs, cleared the lanes for the Marines to go do their thing. And so these guys were called Naked Warriors because they basically went into combat wearing nothing but like, little booty shorts, a belt, a K-bar knife, and fins and a mask. And so you fast forward into, they later became the underwater demolition team, and later in Vietnam, they became U.S. Navy SEALs. So when I got out of the military, so the Naked Warrior is a little bit of heritage of me being a Navy SEAL. But when I got out of the military, I say I had a lot of baggage. I had a lot of we'll just call it baggage for now. Stress, anxiety. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Some of the baggage is from occupational hazards. Other baggage that I have is from not so awesome relationships. And so CBD was a modality that helped me kind of like take that ego off that I had, take that armor that I was like baggage that I was carrying around, take it off, become a little bit vulnerable, expose myself so I could find the healing that I need. And so that's really what I mean when I say get naked. I mean, just like take your ego off and set it in the corner, and like, we all have baggage. It's how we deal with the baggage. And oftentimes we just need to like shed it and get rid of it. And it's not as easy as it sounds, but it's, I say get naked. It's that simple. It's simple, but it's not easy. So you just have to take that ego off. But also naked it's an acronym. And so it stands for, the N stands for never quit. This A stands for accept failure. The K is kill mediocrity. The E is expose your fears, and D is do the work. That was a very long answer to your question.
Actually, it's I hope people will listen to that again and again, because there's so much there, and it and the end point or the beginning point is it's a vulnerability. And as I see it, many dog people are afraid to be vulnerable. They're afraid to be vulnerable in what they know and what they don't know. And Dog Show Mentor, we talk about you don't know what you don't know, because people will say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Why didn't I know that? I should have known that." Well, no, because we learn in layers, and
Right.
we learn when we're ready to learn, and we learn through that vulnerability, through that willingness to open up and say, "I don't know everything, and I need help." And so, again, at Dog Show Mentor, we say, you can't do it alone. We have community, and that's what our Facebook Lives are about. Every week we do a Facebook Live. Last week we didn't because I was on an airplane, but we do Facebook Lives to build our community, and get together and talk about things that maybe we don't know. So thank you so much for that. I see that we do
100%.
have a couple questions. Nikki asks, how do you prepare your mind to be laser focused?
I would argue that I don't feel like my mind is laser focused at all. But I try very hard. I try to, only focus on the things that are important at the time. So, for example, if I'm on a mission or if I'm with a client for coaching, nothing else matters. Like I mute my phone. Like I only am listening to, or if I'm on an interview like this, I'm only paying attention to the person that's in front of me, or the information that I'm trying to put out. Oftentimes, that laser focus really is about listening and hearing, like not necessarily the words, but the meaning behind what's being presented. So yeah, I'm certain I didn't answer your question, because I'm not even sure what I just said.
Well, that leads me to another question, of course. What kind of coaching do you do?
So I do business mindset, leadership coaching. So I like speaking from stage. Actually, 100% of the time when I get on stage, I'm like, I am actually much more comfortable in a gunfight than I am public speaking. But so as I stutter and I get through this and I get warmed up, it'll get better. But just know that I'm terrified of public speaking, but I love doing it. So I like getting on stages, and then I also do, I have clients who I help them grow their company, help them drive the culture into the culture they want in their organization, and then also just some self-development, personal development stuff.
So we are talking about dogs. So driving culture, we have a dog show culture that it's pretty unique. We're a pretty interesting group of people, and we have we call it family, right? But when you say driving culture, can you think of how that might, I know you don't know much about dog shows, but can you think about how we might use that terminology, or the meaning behind it in the dog show community?
So I talk about it mostly in organizations, but your organization can just be you and your dog, or your kennel, or whatever.
Okay.
What kind of relationship do you want to have? Do you want your dog to and I just watched the Big Dog Show on TV when I was in California a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Like, how do you want your dog to how do you want them to perform in the ring? Do you want them, like, there were some dogs that were like beautiful dogs, but they could not mind at all. They were jumping all around, and they're like, so building the discipline in your dog in an organization, I would tell them what are the 5 things, like, don't focus on more than 5, 3 to 5 things that you want to be the culture of your organization. Because as a leader, if you're not driving the culture, someone else in your organization is. So are you in charge of the dog, or is the dog in charge of you? Are you in charge of the organization and how people perform and what they're thinking about and how they're doing their job? Or are they in charge of how they're doing it? So if you want the culture to be a certain way, like a culture of winners, and you talk about winning, you talk about discipline, you talk about the things that matter to you, and you just continue to repeat and reinforce those culture, like you have to do it every single day. I remember in the SEAL teams, as a leader, I still had leaders, and so I would drive the culture that I wanted in my platoon or in my task unit. And when I would leave and I would go to where all the other leaders got together, and then we had a guy that was in charge of us. He would drive the culture that he wanted in the organization. So it would come from the top down. Like he was like, this is what I want. This is how you should perform. These are the things that you should focus on that I expect of you. And then I would take those exact same things and I would drive them into the guys that work for me. And so in the dog show ring culture, like, what do you want it to be? Like, do you want your culture to show up and your dog doesn't behave? You don't know how to run around the ring. You don't know exactly what to wear. And I know there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that. Like, what is your culture? Is your culture to just show up and wing it? Or is your culture to show up and like be as prepared as you possibly can to crush that? You may or may not win. It's not really up to you, but the more prepared you are for walking into that ring and showing your dog, the better the entire experience will be.
Okay, I hope everyone heard that, because that was spot on and really powerful. And I will say at Dog Show Mentor, we have core values. So it's sort of like driving force of confidentiality, excellence, community, integrity, and grit. And those are things that, when the chips are down, drive what I'm doing as a leader at Dog Show Mentor. And when I show my own dogs, I see that, and I also talk about 3 to 5 things, and I also talk about 5 people who are positive and forward thinking. So that 5 is really a great number. Thanks, Kathy. She says she loves that. And Nikki says it comes back to 5 minutes a day, every day, to practice one thing with my dog. Yep. And,
Nikki, I did not know you showed dogs. I had no idea. I just learned that about you today.
Yeah, she's a cool lady. Very cool. All right. And I think we answered the question about ring nerves. Mary says, how do you stay on task, complete the mission when things are not going as planned? And I think you answered that question too. I think that unless you have something more to add, that it all comes in the planning stages and having that muscle memory, but maybe you have something else to add.
I think so. Let me just kind of talk about it a little bit. I think the mission, whatever the mission is, whether it's some sort of life transition that you're going through, or showing a dog, or even like going to the grocery store, there's a mission. You have a mission to go get food. You probably made some sort of list, either in your mind or you wrote it down. You go to the grocery store and you buy the food that you want. If you go to Costco, there's lots of other options that you could end up coming home with that you didn't plan on. So you didn't exactly stay on mission, but maybe you made an audible along the way. But really, at the end of the day, it's like, what is your mission? And the mission could be, I want to go, win this show or do 50 shows a year. You're going to make a plan. Like, what are the shows you want to do? How do you want to do it? How do you want to show up? Is your dog ready? So you have a plan on what you're going to do, like where you're going to stay, what time you need to be there the next day, the schedule. So you build the plan and you stick to the plan. Like, if you go off and go buy like a vacuum cleaner while you're at Costco, while you're, trying to buy groceries, it's not exactly according to plan. So, but maybe you needed a vacuum cleaner. So that was okay. But you bought the things that were on your list. You bought the things that you needed to eat. You needed to buy so that you could eat. And or you make a plan to not go to Costco because you'll buy a vacuum cleaner or a blender or new pots and pans when you only have this much money in your budget. So you create your plan, and you execute the plan. You don't go outside the plan. It's easy to go outside the plan, especially if you don't have a plan. You have kind of an idea. Oh, I want to kind of do this. I want to be a champion dog show person. You have to stick to that plan. First you have to make the plan and practice the plan, and then you execute the plan. And after every show, you do kind of an after action review. After every mission, we go do the mission. That mission leads to other missions, intel off the target, things like that. Or we go hit one building, we go hit another building because maybe the bad guy wasn't there or whatever. Or we need to keep doing that. We planned that, and then we executed it. And when we come back from the mission, we do an after action review. The first thing we do is we review like what went right, what went wrong, how can we fix it? And so that's the way that you keep moving forward, and how you stay focused. Things don't always work out according to plan, but if you plan it and you execute it enough times, you have enough lessons learned. It's okay if it doesn't work out exactly right. Next time it'll work out a little bit better.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. You and I, when I spoke with you, I thought I have a lot of philosophically in common with William, and what you said at the last was, and then we go back, and there's basically accountability, right? So there's the accountability while you're planning to how to create the plan, what it's going to look like, and then there's the later accountability piece where you get together with your team and you say, hey, how did this go? And so at Dog Show Mentor, that's what we do. We have a community of people who help each other. We all get together on Monday mornings or on Thursday afternoons and talk about, what went right, what went wrong, and how we can do better. And
what's awesome about a community is I get to learn lessons from your failures, so I don't have to make those same mistakes. That's
I love
awesome.
That. Thank you.
I mean, I'm not that smart of a guy, and I'm slow to learn, but and sometimes I just have to go learn it myself. But if you can have the failure and learn from it and share your experience with me, that's awesome. Then I don't have to. Then I'm going to go fail at something else, and I'm going to share that with you.
I love that, and I just want to say, we're just about out of time, and I would love for you to. I would love for everybody to go and look William up if you want to. Let us know how to get in touch with you, how to see you've done over 300 podcasts, and
yes.
I didn't intended to include that in your introduction, but we got sidetracked with the plan.
I had some technical issues. I'm not, yeah.
But
I wasn't exactly sure how to do this.
How can people get in touch with you and learn more about the Get Naked and learn more about the CBD, and maybe you've got a dog CBD that you've got some wisdom about that. So would you share that with us now?
Sure. So to learn about the Get Naked mindset, and this is what I speak about from stage most of the time, is if you go to the website, the number 5sealsecrets.com, all one word, 5sealsecrets.com, put your name and email in there. I will email you. It's a document. It's about 7 pages, I think, PDF, of really what all of these this Get Naked mentality mindset is all about. And if you are interested in coaching or anything else, public speaking, maybe I could go do a thing at a dog show. Maybe we could set something like that up and talk about getting naked. And really the 5 secrets to help you think like a Navy SEAL. So that's 5sealsecrets.com. Awesome. Thank you. And then for CBD, my website is nw-recovery.com, nw-recovery.com, or Naked Warrior Recovery, all one word. But I made it NW -recovery. If you go to NW Recovery, you're going to go to like Northwestern Rehab, which is like an alcohol rehab. You don't want that. So you put a dash in there. I made it from Naked Warrior Recovery to NW Recovery because maybe people didn't want to put naked in their search engine. Not really sure why. It was just an epiphany I had one day. So it's either Naked Warrior Recovery or NW-Recovery. There it is in the chat.
Yep.
Either one of those are great ways to meet you. If you go to 5 Seal Secrets, that email comes directly from my email account. It is automated, but it goes directly from my Gmail. And if you have questions, you can just email me directly. I even check my spam because, you know, sometimes my email do go to spam. So check your spam if you get anything from me. Or if you didn't get something
part
you
of the
thought you should
plan.
have gotten
Check
from
your
me.
spam. That's right. Hey, William, I have loved spending time with you. I thank you so much for taking your time to be here with us and share some secrets, not just about showing dogs, but also some great life lessons. And we all thank you for your service today. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
And Lee Whittier, the
Thank you.
Dog Show
Thank you.
Mentor,
Thank you.
signing
Thank you
off.
so much for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.